Okay, so why don't we start with red line comments that we just received. If everybody gets a chance to take a look at that, why don't we open them and then review those? You okay with that, Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to share it?
Yeah, either you or yeah.
You're talking about the RFP, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the RFP that we just got. But before we do that, we have 2 minutes, two little business items. We have the minutes of October 1st to approve, and we need to appoint a clerk. We were going round and having people volunteer. So I'll volunteer to take the recording and turn it into minutes. So I'll do the clerk stuff.
I didn't send them to the full group. I think I might have forgotten, but I sent October 15th minutes to Erin, who was going to review, and she did and gave me one small edit back. If you all would also approve those, I can get them posted.
Can everybody see the RFP? I mean, on the screen?
It's a really tiny screen.
No.
Okay. Oh gosh.
So I can do it too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've received it.
It came just minutes ago, Linda.
Oh, I must have a slow connection here. Okay.
You guys can see it now?
Yep.
One of my English papers, college.
So you guys can just direct me through scrolling it when you're ready, but I think this first part is mostly just contextual. You know, I think hopefully the edits you all will be more concerned about are within the tasks.
Is there a reason we struck out the word visioning and just went with concept planning?
There's no comments there.
Okay.
I can't be sure.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's because it's just more recognizable when it comes to RFPs. It will be concept planning will, I don't know, jump out off the page versus visioning, I think.
Okay. All right. I don't mind the press conference stuff in that first paragraph. The changes are fine with me. Why doesn't everybody take a look and see for themselves? So I'm okay with that, all of the changes proposed in A. There are other people.
I don't understand the last paragraph, page 1. It says section 133B2 requires DCAM to hold public hearings within 45 days and then hold 2 more public hearings and no less than 60 days prior to finalizing its report. What's its report?
It has to do a report to the legislature with its recommendations of who it's going to be, what it's going to recommend be done with the property.
Okay, I'm just wondering, does a consultant really care about hearing? I mean, I guess that's
they'll want to know that somebody else is holding public hearings.
Well, I also think that because the idea is we're collaborating with DCAM and we've taken over the responsibility of this piece of the puzzle, it has to meet their requirements, that obligation. So I think I'm not talking about the specific language, Scott, but I do think it's important that whoever's looking at this consultant wise understands that it's not just satisfying the town of Concord's expectations, but there's also a piece of it that we have to satisfy DCAM.
Okay,
Okay, let's take a look at.
Peter, can I just a general comment?
Yeah.
And it may just be my density, and I'm perfectly willing to accept that. But I find it really difficult to do this process when I mean, I don't know a better way, so I'll start with that point. But when you have these iterative changes that have come across and the origins of them might be clear for people, but they might not be. I think maybe having somebody, and I don't want to put undue burden on Shannon, but if this is the latest iteration from town staff, maybe just to have you expeditiously walk us through and say why the change, what's important about it, because just as some of the questions have surfaced, it's not going to be immediately clear to me. I mean, some of it may be when it's like a section 193, that just feels like it's probably house, kind of rules or whatever. But and if it's just me, then I will follow along.
I
and
know,
listen.
I agree with you, Dan, because we've had so many people look at this and I've been receiving so many different comments and some of them conflict with each other. So it's really important that just because someone made a comment and scratched something out, we should all review it. Did that mean to be scratched out?
Yeah,
Right. And reviewing it individually, I don't think it accomplishes the same thing as,
Okay.
because I only have limited, I
Right.
only understand my world, right? I don't
agree.
understand the world in which
I agree.
Elizabeth and others are
I think
operating.
going through it together would be really helpful.
yeah. And the good news is we're on page 2. We've done 1/10 of the work already.
Well, yeah.
All right, so Shannon, did you or Elizabeth sort of lead the discussions?
I think Elizabeth has her hand up if she wants to make her comment.
That's great. Thank you, Elizabeth.
So to Dan's comment, so I did not read any of the discussions on these changes. I think the draft RFP went to individual staff members who made changes. And Shannon you can hover over a change and while it says who made the change, it doesn't say why the change was made. So I don't think either Shannon or I can answer the question on why a change was made. To this, just from an RFP standpoint and the consultants that are going to be looking at this, I would not spend too much more time on 1A.
Yeah, I agree.
They all know about it. Just at this point, as I tell my staff with a lot of things, we're all just going to have to sing the theme song from Frozen and let it go. So if there is to scroll back up, Shannon, just one, if I again don't really have a concern about the name of this RFP. Again, I don't know why, community engagement and facilitation, fine. In the planner world and the planners that are going to be looking at this, they all know they all know what visioning means. So you can either keep this or get rid of this. To them, it is not going to make any difference. They know what their job is going to be. But if you make the change in the title, you make the change in the rest of the document. If you just, from a RFP standpoint, be consistent. So again, putting this in perspective, the consultants that are going to be replying to this know what it is in the high level of what the committee and the town is looking for. So I wouldn't I wouldn't spend a lot of time on those type of details. But
That sounds
again,
great. Thank
and-
you for that
and I do
summary.
need to apologize that I have to get off and start another meeting before 3. So I didn't want to seem rude if I'm here 1 minute and gone the next.
All right, no worries. Scott?
It looked like they added community engagement and facilitation. Can you hover over that? Who changed that?
Yeah, Mimi made that.
And why, that's the first thing that comes up on the RFP, and that's really not I mean, it's part of it, but we're really hiring planners and economic analysis and zoning consultants, not.
You're not doing,
community-
you're gonna hire a different RFP for.
Yeah,
community
so I don't know why
engagement and
I don't understand why
facilitation,
that was put in there.
I didn't think that we were hiring someone else for community.
We aren't hiring a separate community
Yeah.
engagement person.
I think it's all in
It's
this.
folded in here.
But why is it folded in for this person? Because we're gonna be doing ourselves and providing that information, sharing that information with this consultant team.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I think there's a component of it, but I agree it shouldn't be the first
I don't think it should be the first.
I agree
thing
with that.
listed
You won't
here.
you won't get interest if you'll lose interest on, this is the first thing that comes up, you won't get the interest that you're thinking.
So we'll just take community engagement and facilitation.
already in the
and put it
yeah.
at the end of the title.
I mean, you have to look through the whole RFP and say, is that a big component of this? We said that this consultant would be working with us and our team. Aaron, you rewrote it really, really well, but does it deserve to be in the title?
So I can tell you from a planner and consultant standpoint, when any planning firm is doing, and Linda saw this with the Thoreau Depot, any visioning and concept planning zoning process has community engagement and facilitation as part of that process.
Yeah.
It's not, it is.
Yeah.
So I agree. It doesn't need to be in the title. It's inherent to the process.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
I don't think it has to be in the title. It's part of the process.
Okay. So I can make that change, but I do just want to be clear that we're not hiring a separate community engagement consultant. It's
that's fine.
within the
We
scope.
understand.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll down.
So I can answer the next one from John Boynton. That can be removed and take out that parentheses. This is something the procurement officer, you are hiring a consultant off the statewide contract PRF 76. And that's the name of the statewide contract that you are hiring off of. That is not the RFP number, which that gets assigned separately. So where the parentheses is in John's comment, question, confirm contract number, that can be deleted.
Yeah.
Great.
Huh.
All right. So are we on to page 2?
Yeah, we're on page 2 now.
I don't have any problems with the FY25 project elements that were added.
There's a note from Mimi again that says, it sounds like, I don't know that I agree with the statement, but it says, it sounds like the plan is 100% a product of the consultant rather than the consultant facilitating a vision that emerges from the community. But it says,
What's
for assistance with the development of the MCI Concord property vision and scenario planning, scenario land use plan, the plan. I don't know that I understand that statement.
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's a product of the consultant, but in collaboration with the community input.
Yeah, and I think we go into detail on that later,
Go into
so,
plenty of detail that later on.
yeah, okay. I
Okay,
think
so I'm gonna
probably,
resolve this comment.
Reject.
Okay. Next comment is Megan's.
I can tell you that'll make the procurement officer happy. So just FY 25 elements, and that's great.
So what does that mean for someone reading that as a, does that mean it's still up in the air, or how does that?
It means that this contract will be, the funds for this contract have only been procured through FY 25. So whatever they can complete through June 30th.
Right.
Is that the point, Elizabeth, or is it that the
Yes.
the EOED hasn't issued the funds yet?
No, that is the point. Funds for the FY 25 project elements are allocated in the executed budget. So that's what that means. So there are funds that have been secured.
Right.
For work through June 30th, 2025.
But it says
And
contingent upon.
just so I'm sorry, just so I'm clear, those funds, you're talking about the state funds, or this is something with the town?
No, so that's what that sentence says. Funds for the FY 25 project elements are allocated in the executed state budget and contingent upon execution of a funding contract. So that's the funding source up to June 30th.
Okay, I'm not to nitpick, but in the meeting with DCAM on Friday, this past Friday, Megan and others, well, Megan reported that the funds she had not received confirmation from the office that releases them. So she's waiting on a letter. So I know theoretically, if I'm understanding your point, Elizabeth, theoretically, that's how this thing's going to get funded. And yes, there is a time frame, there's a fuse on it that says in the end of June 30th of 25.
Okay, Linda and then Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry, I might.
So I can tell you, Dan, that you can go through this process and you can execute you can select a vendor. I'm not sure an actual contract can be executed until the town gets that letter.
Yep. And that's consistent with my understanding. And I'm not suggesting we should wait. I think I was kind of maybe
And that's what that sentence says to a consultant.
Okay, all right. And I think I was going where Scott was going, which is what signal does it send to a consultant? Does it, make them anxious? And maybe these people who are used to working with municipalities and state funded sources don't get, anxious about that.
They
Linda?
get less anxious.
I just wondered if it would be informative to indicate that the town intends to work with its elected officials to secure funding for fiscal 2026 in addition. Would something to that effect be informative as well in terms of?
That would be informative.
So we just add a new sentence at the end of after Office of Economic Development. The town will work with its elected officials to secure additional funding for the project. Something along those lines.
Yep.
Okay, next comment is another one for Mimi.
All right.
I think there may be like miscommunication here. I don't know if Mimi is interpreting that we're primarily hiring a community visioning consultant
Yeah.
here,
I know.
but that seems to be the tone of a lot of the comments, and I don't know, I fundamentally don't agree that that's the primary task here. I mean, I think some of the comments are maybe good for maybe the listing, but I'm not sure that that's not
I
already
agree with that.
included.
I agree.
No, Aaron, that's a good observation. So how do we reconcile this? Or address it? I mean,
Who is it? Who's Mimi?
She's the economic vitality manager.
These are just I mean, the point, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the point of this section C is not. It's not the task, it's more just an overview of the goals and not getting into too much detail, just giving a high level until we get deeper into the RFP. But if you want to break it up this way,
Go ahead. Linda, you've got your hand up.
No, I appreciate Mimi's comments. I think that, however, the goals as stated, in my mind, capture what she's stated, though in somewhat different format, and I would suggest that we move on.
I would agree.
Okay.
All right.
Next is from Megan. Considering adding some positive impacts to track in the fiscal impact scenarios.
I like that idea. The challenge is that we may not be ready to insert them. I mean, Patrick and I are planning to do a little bit of a goal
they're gonna,
setting exercise, and there's going to be something in the packages coming out related to that to get people to start thinking about it. But so in concept, I think it's a good idea. I don't want to hold things up either.
Yeah, I appreciate like what we list here is sort of like all the negative things that come with development, and maybe it's just trying to balance that a little bit with like, okay, there's also some positive elements here.
Well, we could add things like net
Tax revenue, or I guess that's listed, but
yeah, tax benefits. We actually delve into that further on as we get down into the details.
Peter?
Yeah, Scott.
No, I like the idea of adding some positivity, but if you start asking about jobs created, people are gonna start asking how many housing units are gonna be. You're gonna start, now you're going down a slippery slope here. And how much traffic is, like, I just, I'm all for like community amenities. This is like a visioning plan. I don't know how much you can read from that plan of community amenities, but I think it's worth putting it in some positivity. That's fine. I just don't want to. People are going to ask hard questions about what this means for a burden on our community, on our town. It's going to be, what's the burden going to be on housing in our schools? So we're not putting any of that in here. So, so I'm just like,
I'm comfortable leaving it the way it is. Linda, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I would
Sorry.
agree with you. I think it's hard to ask of a of a fiscal, I mean, this is a fiscal impact scenario, and to put in qualitative
Yeah,
positive attributes, I think they will happen, but I'm not sure that this is the right place to insert that.
All right, so I
Can
got
I-
the general.
Peter,
view
just
of-
a quick question. Yeah, sorry. So, I guess when I made that comment, I was thinking when they present the different scenarios and they sort of roll them up and summarize them and say, then I'm thinking, I have the advantage, disadvantage, and of having seen one of these things. And what they did is they had these summary, very quick slides that sort of look across a cross section of considerations. And having that, I'm sensitive to the point that you brought up, Scott. I think that is a little risky. On the other hand, I think it may be useful at some point with certain audiences to say this scenario has the following outcomes, right? Or impacts. And this one has this one, so that people can begin to compare them, but also understand it in things that they experience in the course of their daily lives. So to me, it's more of a presentation thing than it is specific. At some point, we'll talk about goals with them, right? In the process, but I'm not saying we should incorporate goals in this piece of it, this
Right,
section.
and the answer, what we're asking for is a deliverable under 3.42. It reads something, incorporate a summary of the land use scenarios, including programmatic elements, square footage, open space, municipal impacts, and probable tax revenue and land values. I think that would cover the item that Dan ticked off, and I don't think we need to have it higher up here under goals. Okay, Aaron?
I'm fine with this as discussed. I was gonna make a comment about the next bullet point.
All right, well, rock on.
It's just a minor, it's under the community cohesion. Wait, go back up.
Yep.
Yeah, so it just says advisory boards, community engagement subcommittee, and consultant. So maybe we should remove and consultant.
Good catch. All right. All right, so we roll down the recycling. I'm okay with recycling and reuse of materials language. So under environmental, we've had a couple of comments. This is outside the scope. Actually, I think it would be work with MIPA to develop umbrella permit for the site. Oh, I think what I'm trying to get at here is we want the data collected by the consultant to be able to flow into a MIPA umbrella permit. And I think we have enough budget to at least get that going with this project, but it's going to save the town money and make the site more attractive to the developer. So I don't know why we don't keep this in and maybe expand it a little bit. Questions?
I have a question, Peter.
Yeah.
Are you, just so I'm clear in my head on what you're suggesting here, are you thinking that we'd actually
I'm in a meeting
start a
for the
permitting
rest of the afternoon, so.
process for, as part of this project, or you're saying that we would develop our thinking such that it would make the obtaining of a MIPA permit more efficient?
I think the latter. I think we collect data, check with MIPA, and get them to say it'll be okay to take the data that we collect as part of this process, and it will be usable for the MIPA permit.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I understood from our previous conversation, and to me that makes sense. I don't know that that's clear the way it's currently written, but
So I work with consultant and MIPA to assure material, information collected is transferable to the MIPA process. Okay. All right. Hey, Shannon, I can send you that something on that. All right. Okay, Concord's needs.
Yeah, I liked, oh, sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Go right ahead.
I liked Megan's comment. I think we're not asking this consultant to do an assessment of the town of Concord's facilities.
That's correct.
But I think, I assume an assessment like that has been done and some needs have been risen. So perhaps we can just ask them to, as Megan states in there, the town is interested in exploring municipal use for the parcel specifically, etc. Maybe it just says the consultant should work with the town staff to understand needs and include in one or more scenarios.
So something along the lines of work with town of Concord staff on identified building facility needs and whether they're appropriate for the site.
Yeah, I think in Megan's comment, her second sentence, the town is interested in, I think that probably could get, pasted in and we could wordsmith it from there, but.
Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of that stuff has yet to be resolved. The town may want to put the public works department there. I'm not sure I'm a big advocate of it, but we'll just
Yeah, I mean, I liked the part where she said the consultant could work with town staff to understand needs and include in one or more scenarios. So there might be a scenario that has it and one that doesn't.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Okay. Transportation, mobility, access, and connectivity.
Should we just say, coordinate with the town and town's current consultant? Transportation consultant, I guess. I don't know exactly the scope of that work, but.
Yep. Yeah, that looks good. Linda, you have your hand up? You're muted, Linda.
Doesn't have to do with transportation. It's another issue. So
Go right ahead. Jump right in.
this is something that I've noticed and I don't really know what to do with. We have something about it in the livable built environment, but DCAM, the director of DCAM has said that they're interested in the site for housing, sustainability, and then equity and marginalized and underserved population. And I really don't know from them what that means, and I really don't know if we've considered that. But in terms of our goals, again, we just threw that in the livable built environment. But I don't know where in this document that resides and if it should. So I just wanted to bring it up before we left this goals section and see if anyone had more of an understanding of that than I do, or thoughts about it.
Yeah, my guess is just a guess, and it's probably similar to yours, that they're interested in workforce or affordable, and that it be in a regional be open to people to apply regionally rather than just having a limited number from Concord, because that's against the fair housing laws now. So
I might be able to offer shed some light on that. I think it's a good point, Linda. And my understanding is after we get done with this process, it's going to be sent out for DCAM to take a look at. So that's their opportunity to flag that and to embellish it if they feel that it's necessary. So I don't know that I'm not trying to abdicate our responsibility, but I don't want, I have read and I'm aware of those same three elements that you just mentioned. And I think we touch on a part of it, but I'd rather they be the ones that put the suggest the specific language if they don't think we've done a good enough job.
No, that's fine. That's fine, because they haven't ever elaborated on it to my knowledge. And so I think that's a good solution. They have the opportunity to inform us what their thoughts are. So, yeah, thank you.
that's great. That removes the guesswork too. So Yahoo. All right. All right. So, and we're into phases of the operation. So we've done at least 20% of the work, folks. We're doing great. Maybe even a quarter at this point. All right. And under task one, one of the suggestions was that we put in February-March 2025 discovery phase.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Nice.
Did you have an? All right. So Linda, did you had a question, and then Scott?
No, I just thought February is fine.
Scott?
Elise Woodward sent you, her edits. And there was some markups, and that's where you probably found the February. How are we gonna incorporate hers and review hers as well? Because those came separately.
Yeah,
Makes it a little bit more difficult. We might have to go through hers after this.
yeah, I think it's worthwhile doing that.
Okay.
All right.
I like the comment that Megan makes about the deliverable. I think it maybe that belongs with task 2 instead of task 1.
Yeah, that's still in task 1. I wound up making a similar comment attached to task 2, which felt more like the community outreach focus section, but it's very similar to Megan's, like just considerations beyond attending meetings and forums. Because I know John specifically has been talking about a website. And you know, Donna and I have said that we can bridge the gap on web-based updates and creating some content for now, but I think he has some pretty specific ideas at this point that I'd like him to take another look at to include in this section, since there isn't going to be a separate community outreach consultant.
Is there a task 2.3 or something that maybe?
Yeah, I think it would probably go in between 1 and 2, if 2 is gonna be like their report.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can as an action item, follow up with John on some of the more specific ideas he'd like to see from the community outreach piece, but I know he has more than just like the live community outreach at this point.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll leave those and I'll follow up with John, but I'll scroll down to task 3 now.
Same note about the engagement consultant in 3.1.
Yeah, so some of the same comments there. Chris made a comment about timeline, but then otherwise I can scroll down too. Scott, I don't think Peter can see everyone on his screen, so yeah.
Okay, Peter, Chris made a comment about the timeline, and the reason we did the timeline is because of really trying to complete this by June. I don't know what people's thoughts are, Dan or any Peter or others, Aaron's thoughts on the time frame. I mean, I think it is what it is, right? With our funding and
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
sorry.
It's okay. I was just gonna say, maybe there's a hope we could get them going in January, but I don't know how else to do this any faster.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's like probably everyone on this call knows it's always better to start with something a little more ambitious and aggressive, and then you can, if necessary, you can slow it down, scale it back, whatever, but I don't think there's any harm. Let them tell us, no way, guys, it's not gonna happen.
I will say all the RFPs we get always have an aggressive timeline.
I find that hard to believe it.
Those owners reps, you know?
Okay, so I'm just gonna resolve that one for now.
So, sorry, everyone, I gotta jump off and go set up for the next meeting. When you get down to the zoning stuff, if there's any questions, please let me know. I know Linda can answer, a lot of them, but, but great job.
Thank you for your help, Elizabeth.
Yeah, no problem. Bye now.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Okay, so we still have John's comment about ULI that was sort of discussed at the last full advisory board meeting. It wasn't exactly clear to me where we landed on that. It seems like it was a maybe that it could be included.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I thought Peter's comment was good, that we want them to know that we may be asking them to participate with ULI, but we don't know exactly what or how or when. So I don't know that we want to put the ball in their court in terms of suggest whether or not we could just say a ULI 2-day event may be beneficial or something like that. And
Yeah, or there's been some consideration of pursuing that, but just a heads up. We don't know if that'll happen or not.
Peter, I was thinking regarding ULI, I thought it seemed like we were discussing whether it was even applicable since it's so late in the game, and maybe use ULI to evaluate, to be like a peer review of the various vision options that this consultant comes through. So it's like almost like a judge or someone who reviews and sits in and reviews those three scenarios at the end, versus like doing a tap, which would completely disrupt in parallel and slow the process down. We're in such a tight time frame. A tap in the middle of this thing would slow everything down, because you have to engage a group of about 20 different people that are different than the consulting team in the middle of this whole process of the spring, which I think would just stall us out, and people would be confused. So my feeling is, I don't want to necessarily say it, but I think if we're going to use ULI, just keep it very wide open. I wouldn't even mention today, consider ULI, engage ULI in the process, maybe, so we can maybe use them for the visioning reviews. That's what I want. That's my personal opinion, sorry. But
Peter, you're on mute, I think, if you're.
No, you had your hand up earlier, Aaron. I wondered if you had anything you wanted to add around the UI.
No, I agree with Scott. I think I think peer review would be a great use of their services. I don't know that we even know if we want to do that yet. So we could, I don't know if we just want to say something like advisory board may engage ULI in a future date or something like that, and would like consultant to engage or
perfect.
participate.
Yep, that'd be great.
All right, that sounds good. So we would just sort of throw a period after events, and then go straight to a ULI event, get rid of 2-day site.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next comment was from Donna, also about community engagement deliverables. So I'll bring that back up, to task 2. And I think maybe just for consistency's sake, it seems like deliverables are being listed a little bit differently than a task. And perhaps, things like the website, and also if this is meant to be a final report, they should also be listed as a deliverable versus a task, but deliverables are listed like, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
numbers here versus a task. And it was also in task 1, so I can just make that change to keep it consistent.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, continuing down to task 4. I have a comment from Megan. More timeline concerns, but
I would say if that becomes possible through this process, that we can extend the timeline, we will, but it doesn't sound like that's possible yet. I'm sure the consultant would be happy to have more time if we were able to determine that.
Yeah, can you explain? I don't understand her thought process, Megan.
Yeah,
My guess is she's just saying that there's a lot going on this spring and it may be hard to do all of this from May to June, which I agree. But I don't think we have an option yet at this point.
Yeah, we gotta go full out until the brakes are applied.
Yeah.
I guess I would have thought that the economic analysis would be least dependent on town staff and
Yeah.
could be done in a sort of a parallel fashion. So I see what she's saying about all of the external requirements will be very demanding, but I guess I'm more hopeful than not, just because we did have an economic feasibility study for the MBTA, and it really was a very separate process.
Yeah, agreed.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda.
all right, continuing on. I think someone plugged in some dates for this that they project being, past FY25. So just more comments on that.
So you mean it's past the funding period into end of June? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's any way. Is there any way of funding this in June? Or I don't know how you do this, but I don't see how we could expedite this, so.
Yeah, I think Chris Carmody is still communicating with the Office of Economic Development on any possibility that some of these funds can roll over into FY26. And so I think that's where Megan's comment is coming from. If there were any way that we were able to continue with the funds in FY26, it seems like the zoning, a more realistic timeline for it would be starting in August.
We also
Aaron
asked,
has her hand up, then Dan.
sorry. We also asked for the consultant to break down costs for each of the tasks, and part of the reason was if we need to ask Representative Cataldo for additional funds, we would know how much those cost as soon as we get the response to the RFP. So that was, I think, why we defined some of these tasks that go beyond the fiscal year 25, 24.
Great. So Dan and then Linda.
Just quick, I'm like Elizabeth, I have to jump at 3 o'clock. I don't know how long that meeting's gonna be, so I'll check back to see if you guys are still meeting so I can rejoin. And I'm sorry to jump off. I think I scheduled myself too closely, back to back.
No worries. Linda?
I was just going to comment on the form-based code. And the way it's phrased here, depending on what is appropriate, and I'm really, again, not clear on how we'll make that determination. Will that be something that the consultant will be responsible for? Making recommendations about what type of code to use, and again, this is one of the things that has been mentioned by DCAM, I think particularly. So maybe this is something we want to give them some opportunity to comment on. And certainly if we're not going to get to it until August, then maybe they will be helpful in seeing it, that we can get funding over that period if they want this form-based code. I'm again not clear about this, but so I do have some questions about that. And then again, the inclusionary zoning, if desired by the community, that's kind of the first time this is mentioned. I think in the document, and that's definitely a question. I don't know, maybe we should be asking earlier in the process or not. Just some thoughts, some queries.
So answer part one of your question, Linda. Adam Bakke has done form-based codes for Lowell and I think other communities that he's worked for. So he's very conversant with it. And I mean, I personally see having a form-based code giving the community a little bit more control over what the project looks like. And I think that's something that'll be important to community members to go into a process where we have some control over what the end result is going to look like. And so I'd like to see us move that along. I like your idea of, asking for the funding for that through Simon and stuff up front, and also asking DCAM to help us out if we need it in an interim to getting funding.
Okay, thanks.
All right, other folks? Are we on to task 6? So we sort of got sort of pushback. I would say some people think we should have the amount in, other people aren't, should just say that it's funded. Any people have thoughts, Linda? Scott?
I think I usually would prefer not giving the amount, because then you're putting everybody, you're kind of pigeonholing the consultant. But if this is a lot of work and it's all about it's about work hours, and it's a big effort. And if you didn't put a budget of $500,000 in there, you might see $1 million proposals. So, and then you might have to go back to square one. So that's my only worry, is that you're going to have all these different consultants. This could be a big number, but I think the great thing about showing numbers, they work their program and their team to that number. So, and on this one, I'm in favor of showing a number. So that's my personal vote, but others might have other.
Karen, do you have an opinion?
My only question is that the number? Because we were told it was more than that.
Not.
No, I put that in because we have a budget of what, 725, and I thought we were hiring a outside consultant for the public, so we're not. But we were just throwing a low number, and it was just it was a hold number. We could put it at 600,000 in there, we could put 650 if we want, 700 if we want, I don't know. It's our call.
All right, Linda?
I do like the idea of putting in a number. I probably would say I'd look for things to exceed our budget, and then so I'd shave it for some contingencies or whatnot. So, and perhaps other needs that we don't anticipate. So if people wanted to put in 600 or whatever.
Okay, I'm hearing a ringing endorsement for 600 or whatever.
Yeah,
All right, Aaron, you have your hand.
This might be one that we ask DCAM. I feel like they probably do this a lot, and they may have a perspective on, do you put in a number? Should it be a range? What the number should be? Like, so I would be curious to get their opinion.
Shannon, do you think you could communicate that up the food chain for us? Thank you. All right.
we put in 600 for now. So
Yes,
it's-
we're
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
in 600 for now.
I mean, it's not like this is a secret number either. Like everyone, like anyone who can do any research can determine legislatively what the allocation has been, so.
Yeah. All right, and then we then we go on to anticipated schedule.
Peter,
Scott.
all right, I'm raising my hand all the time.
No, that's fine.
I've talked to Simon Cataldo, and he goes, are you gonna have this thing done by this time? You have to have this done by the funding. So we're getting pressure. I mean, I'd rather give our consultant more time, of course, but we're being limited by this funding timeframe. So, and you want that report at the end of June, I think, if that's how it works.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Okay.
I think that is pretty much it
All right.
for comments. Oh, actually, Dan asked me to plug this in at the end. He added an additional criteria.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Peter,
Yeah.
can you go back, Shannon, to the hourly rates?
Yep.
So right now, put this in for hourly rates, and that's for, there's nothing here about sub-consultant rates, you know what I mean? Like if there's another team of other companies. I was going back and forth about the price proposal and whether we're gonna get apples and oranges, you know, and we're not really understanding their. I know this is gonna be extra work, but I was just throwing this, I was thinking about, can you ask them for the hours per principal per task? I don't want to get too complicated, but what's going to happen is I think you're going to get some really apples and oranges on these proposals. And it's going to be like, oh, we're going to take the lowest price, but you don't know what you're getting for the lowest price. You're getting less effort. So I have two questions, like the price proposal, does it need to have it be in a spreadsheet matrix with hourly rates per principal, per company, per task? Is that a yes or no? And then hourly rates, do we need to have a separate area for hourly rates for the consultants?
Yeah, I think we should ask for the information on the consultants. And as you're suggesting, you know, per principal, per task, hourly rates for the team. And when we say the team, we mean the team of the firm and any sub-consultants that are part of the team.
We have to, if you put down a principal one, principal two, and you're, say, if you're ABC company and you have a consultant but has a different rate, you're gonna have to have you have to have lines for, I don't know, for those other people. So I don't know where you put it, how you do that. Maybe Aaron or other people have some ideas.
A lot of times these are questions that get asked during the interview process. All right, so we're going to jump to Linda and then Aaron, having agreed with Scott that we need more detail in terms of hourly rates of the firms and its team members. Linda?
I'm curious, Elizabeth has said that all of the firms that we'll be consulting with will be on the state's list. Can we get any of this information from that state list? Or what information can we get?
So it'll tell us who the lead consultant is, but then they can hire out sub-consultants. And that's part of why we're asking.
I see. And so then I guess I would also wonder if those outside consultants would have expenses for travel. I don't know, or would you have a rate for someone on a Zoom call that's different from a, they have to show up for a meeting. So I don't know if that location and travel time, but most times, like, people charge you less per hour for traveling, but they do charge you for traveling, things like that. I don't know how to incorporate that in this.
Yeah, I think those will be questions that are better left to the interview process from my perspective, because it's a level of fine grain that I'm not sure is going to bubble up to the surface.
Right. And then did we want to go through Elisa's?
Yeah, as soon as we hear Aaron's comments, maybe we can.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Scott, can you, do you have Elisa's comments?
I was just gonna say that we could just ask them to provide appendices for their hourly rates for various other consultants. I'm assuming for reimbursables, as Linda was mentioning, there's probably a state standard. So that may need to be included by DCAM, or I don't know if the town has a standard that everyone has to sort of follow.
Yeah.
There's a mileage rate, of course. And then in terms of I don't know, additional services, I guess, which is what this is. I guess I'm not sure how that would really play out. Are we, we've kind of outlined what we have here. We've asked them to provide values for additional tasks, but I'm not sure if we would really get into an additional service component where we would need these hourly rates. The other thing I would say is sometimes we get proposals and we're asked to, include the team members and then provide like what percentage of those folks' time will be on the project. So that could be, I don't know if we really ask for like resumes here or like team explanation of the team who's actually going to be on it, but we could say something like provide, percentages for this project or something.
Yeah, that's good. Did you get that, Shannon? Thank you. Okay, Scott, you have your hand up.
There's just going back to Aaron's point, in the general application requirements under staffing. We're asking for the roles and responsibilities, resumes, including provide resumes and highlight staff members who will be directly involved with the project, including experience preparing. Okay, so we didn't get into percentage times or anything like that.
Yeah, but I think that's fine. A line could be added that just says provide the percentage, and that, Scott, maybe gets to your point about, do you get a bunch of more junior folks working on a project, or
I think it's a great line. Shannon, if you need help with that, it's just this line about please designate percentage of time dedicated to each task per person.
Yeah, I think, so I think from here, what we can do is comments that were discussed during this meeting. I can go through this red line, clean it up, delete things and accept things that we all talked about. Things that maybe were left in a gray area, I'll leave and get this back to all of you, and then we can have another version for the advisory board meeting on Monday.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I think I want to send around Elise's comments, just so people take a look at it and see if they weren't, you know, huge, but
Is her comments or is this?
yeah, her comments, yeah, are the ones in red. And I think we've pretty much touched on a lot of these.
You want me to start for this? Does it say, let's see what's, yeah, this is her, these are her comments.
Yep.
Okay, can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay, this is the first comment.
So
Yeah, we could add, I mean, is that? Surprised we didn't have anything like that.
yeah, there weren't a tremendous number of comments, you know, so these are, yeah, I think you can scroll down a little bit more, Scott, and we'll
What, say? Keep on
you
going.
scroll down more, and you know, if and just do it a little bit slowly, and if people have concerns, we can raise them, but so far I think keep on going.
One more having.
Yeah, just keep going there. I think that's. So there's something major there under 2, a summary report addressing the 2 tasks in this.
Yeah.
In this section. So I think we should add that as a deliverable.
Yeah, this was also the section that I think Shannon was going to flesh out with
Yeah.
some other input.
Shannon, you want me to send you this version of Elise's?
Yes. Is it consensus that I'm just going to incorporate what Elise's comments are? Or
No,
you
it's just the deliverables under 2. The other things are really minor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless we missed Commonwealth, like this one, unless I missed Commonwealth, we missed, Peter and I.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's in the version I have, so I don't know if it's already been added by someone else.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I'll just keep on scrolling.
Yeah, just a little.
The schedule is 2 options, should probably follow tab 3, maybe June through July. Well, she doesn't, I don't know, we'll just.
Yeah, no, we'll just leave that one the same because we can't change the dates for Simon.
School kids by housing children, I mean. Things like this, Chan, if you see like kids or children, you can switch it, that's like, I think that's little things like that if you want, you know. That's not. I don't, form-based code. Thoughts on this?
I think that's a good approach.
We're in agreement with that?
Yeah, let's ask Elizabeth for her thoughts, and of course, Linda.
Yeah,
you're
no,
looking-
I think this makes sense. And I think that in terms, you know, I think that there's and this gets more to the outreach situation, but I think to some extent coordinating some of this when we get to zoning with the planning board has, you know, they have to be on board with that. So, that should lead into, excuse me, that should lead into task 6 as well, to work with the planning board and town planner. Obviously, Elizabeth's already in the process.
All right, so we just add some language in task 6. The consultant will work with the planning board, town planner, and
You want that?
yeah, we'll
You'll edit the final version with that language, Peter, or Linda, or is that? Or should we give it to Shannon now? Do I type it in now, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, if Shannon wants to take a go at just putting the planning board and town planner in there, and then we can review it when we get her draft. Would that work, Shannon?
yeah. It looks like she's typing it in there right
I'm
now.
I'm typing.
Okay.
Shannon, is that okay to do this, Shannon, like this?
Okay, great. All right, that was pretty quick. We got a chance to look at Elise's major comments. So good.
But it's well to show cost by task associated man hours for each task. This is what my issue was, and this is why I brought it up before, and I like her suggestion here, and I don't know what your thoughts are. I mean, I could put together an Excel document for the RFP if we wanted to, but what it does is it really shows which person in that firm, whether it's senior or junior, is in doing the work in those tasks, and what's the level of effort, and then what sub-consultants are doing it for hours. And you might have one firm doing 100 hours, another firm doing 20 hours, and you say, oh, if the way this RFP is written, you're going to get a 20-hour versus 100-hour, and say, wow, let's go with a 20-hour. Well, you don't really know the extent of the level of services. So I don't know your thoughts on putting together
I think that's great, Scott. I think that
do you
makes
want to
sense.
put together an Excel document?
Yeah.
What anybody else have thoughts on that? Do you agree? Linda or Aaron or Shannon or? I'm just gonna put together an open Excel document. The consultant team can maneuver it. It's not gonna be static, and they can add rows for the different, I'm gonna put in a bunch of rows, but they can add rows for all their people and their names. Thoughts, Aaron? You thought, Linda?
I think it makes sense. I think also they probably, I mean, if they're working up a number, that's what they're gonna do anyway. The only, so we could ask them to send us this information in their format or use our format.
I'd rather do it our format so they don't, so.
I mean, it's easier for us to
So it's
compare
easier for us to
when
review it and do apples to apples reviews if it's one
Yeah.
type of spreadsheet.
I tell you, this guy, junior planner, he gets around. You'll see him in every proposal.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, I'll put that together tomorrow and I'll send it around for everybody's review.
All right, Aaron, you look like you had a thought
Nope.
on that.
No, I think it's great.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Scott, for doing that.
All right, I'm gonna send you, Sharon, I'll send you Elise's edits here.
Okay.
Team member resumes, including identified. I think these are fine edits. They haven't been, I think she was working off you're working off an old version?
It might have been a little older, yeah.
Yeah, because I think I completely changed it around with you and
Yeah.
Price proposal.
On this, I guess I'll just, now that we're looking at it, number 9, DEI efforts. I'm
Yeah,
not,
this is completely, this is old. This is an old, I took that off.
oh, okay,
This is
okay,
she was working from an old version.
got it.
The new version looks like this,
Oh, wow.
a lot more
Oh,
detail.
I want to see that version. Okay.
Oh, you don't have that?
I don't,
You must have had it, right? That's the one we sent out, right?
I
So.
don't know.
This is the one that the town reviewed.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
No, it still had the one I have still has DEI efforts in it.
Um,
Okay, whatever.
Is that, so under what section is that?
No, it's just,
Is that the town version?
I thought it's 8 pages. And
this is
under general application requirements, I still had number 9 DEI, but
That's
maybe
an old, it's an old
that's
version.
all. Yeah,
The new version you have is probably the one, we just sent out for the, I don't know why you didn't get it, but it was the one, the town one with all the edits.
oh no, I didn't see that before.
Yeah.
Maybe I have it now.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not, it's fine. We had a good conversation.
Yeah,
fine.
so I'll put together Excel sheet and I'll send this to Shannon. We'll go from there. I think that was it. That was it. And we added some attachments. If there's any additional attachments you can think of.
Yeah, we wanted an appendice for the sub-consultants. I think that was the
Yeah,
way Aaron had suggested it, but we may have covered that in the spreadsheet.
yeah, the spreadsheet is where we're covering it, yeah.
Okay. And then evaluation criteria, did we look at that?
When we look at it, that's on Shannon's version of the town. That's not on this one.
Yeah, it's on page 9, I think.
I'm gonna stop sharing, Shannon. If you pull up yours, I'm sorry to do this, the town version.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody looks at it and we're okay. And that was where Dan had added that last number, the proposed graphic visioning tools to help. Yep. Okay. All right. This is looking really good.
Okay,
thank-
Shannon, could I ask you just to send that again to me? I just haven't received it yet.
I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Great job, everybody. Nice
Yeah.
job, Scott, Aaron, Linda, Dan,
You
Shannon.
all- Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, really, really done a great job moving this along. So any thoughts on next Monday's meeting? Anything we need to dress up? Shannon, you're gonna,
Yeah, so
Look-
I'm gonna work through the comments discussed today and then get a draft. I think it should probably go back to Scott and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
everyone can review on the subcommittee again from there, and then we'll include that version in the advisory board packet for Monday.
sounds good.
Okay.
So
And
we'll have one more chance to review it as a committee individually, and then it'll be sent back to Scott and Shannon will send it out to the full group, and we'll get to review it with the full group on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you all log off, did you formally vote to approve your minutes?
I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 1st and October 15th. Is there another one that we need to approve as well?
Dan wrote October 29th. They looked good. I reviewed them.
And October 29th.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Linda Miller.
Aye.
All right, we'll pretend like that was a roll call vote. All right. All right, thank you all.